Hi, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and today we are going to talk about a HydroCore shifty exercise that is a martial arts exercise from Choi Foot. I'm going to show you this exercise with the small HydroCore first because that's what everybody has, and then we're going to show it to you with the experimental HydroCore Kraken from the Hydro Reach project. It's pretty huge and awesome, and then we're going to explain why I like this exercise and where I first read about it 15 years ago. This is the HydroCore. Everybody who watches my channel knows about it. I'm gonna flip this upside down like an inverted horseshoe so the luck doesn't fall out of it. And this exercise is pretty simple. 2 hands through, stabilize your feet, point 2 feet straight ahead, get down towards your horse stance. You can do this high, 1 shoulder width apart. I'm gonna do it shoulder width and a half apart. You could do it 2 shoulder widths apart. From here, we're gonna turn it 90 degrees. Back and forth, 180 degree rotation as fast as you can. People who do internal martial arts or grappling martial arts or things with wrist controls in them will recognize this type of exercise. Sometimes you will see this done in Kung Fu styles where they will do it with a wooden ring and they will practice these movements over and over and over again. By doing this with the HydroCore, you're adding load to it, which is fun, which is what you want to do anyway eventually. Eventually, you need to load Kung Fu movements to know that you're in the right spot. Sometimes you'll hear people say that it's all technique, and that's true to an extent, but there's a reason that Shaolin martial arts had 18 weapons, is because those 18 weapons were 18 different types of loading, which allowed people to know that their biomechanical alignment was in the right spot. You don't have to do Shaolin. Any type of martial training, whether it be boxing or kickboxing or BJJ, will benefit from all of these types of movements. The sport-specific training for fighting has been generally well understood for, a couple thousand years, so we don't really have to reinvent the wheel on this stuff. I'm going to show you this exercise with the HydroCore Kraken now. This is our Kraken. It is a beast. It has about 60 to 70 pounds of water in it right now. I like the 60 to 70 pound weight range on everything. You'll notice a 32K kettlebell is about 70 pounds. The reason that we are trying to get weights between, so let's say 24K at around 50 pounds up to about 70 pounds is because that's how heavy a backpack has been throughout history that would allow you to survive off grid. And that's how much a kit would weigh, whether it be chest plate and helmet in ancient Rome with all of their gear. It would be in that 50 to 70 pound range, not including all the sleeping gear and everything else. You can check out all that information. It's pretty well known. There's a lot of videos on how much gear throughout history has weighed, whether it be a knight's armor in the 50 to 70 pound range, but we're always trying to hit that range. Same thing is true right now with this HydroCore Kraken. We have it set at about 50 to 70 pounds. We think it's about 70 pounds right now, but we're not going to break out the scale. Same thing we did with the light one. We are going to pick it up. The U is going to face up. We are going to set our feet pointed straight ahead with our feet shoulder and a half width apart. So we're going to pick this thing up. Just picking it up is a challenge. We're going to run our hands through the handles, shoulder and a half width apart, and we are going to try and rotate it 90 degrees. Back and forth. This is a core destroyer. Make it a little bit more horse stancy. Whew. It's heavy. The good thing about loading these types of movements is it allows you to know whether or not you're in the right spot. This exercise is kind of the only way I've ever seen to do an old piece of Kung Fu gear that no longer exists, which was a flip rig. A flip rig was a giant square metal thing. So think about a barbell with 2 long legs on it and another barbell at the end. And what people would do is that they would get down in horse stance and they would stand up and they would flip the whole giant square over, and then they would go to the other side and they would flip it back. This piece of equipment doesn't exist anymore. I read about it about 20 years ago in a book about the martial art Choi Foot, which is a Chinese martial art. But the Choi Foot guys had a bunch of weird iron dummies and flip rigs and everything to build their athletic preparation for combat sports as they were being done back then. I'm going to build myself a flip rig sometime this year. I'm working on the design because I would like to be able to make it heavier and lighter to make it progressive training. But this right now with the HydroCore Kraken is a pretty good approximation of that idea, where we're just rotating all the way over from side to side. This is a classic martial arts technique, which isn't done all that much anymore, but people would just get really good at doing this movement, hand on the side of the head, hand on the hip, or hand on the outside of the body. One side pushes, one side pulls. Where the head goes, the body goes. The HydroCore Kraken is allowing me to train that idea without building a giant flip rig, which takes up a ton of space. The problem with flip rigs is they take up a lot of space and you can't do them inside. They have to be done outside and they have to live outside. So this is a simple solution to a problem which existed in my head for like 20 years. So when people invent a good idea, I like to talk about it a lot, and it's the HydroCore Kraken. Yet another great move. I think I'm gonna end up making like 50 videos about this thing because I'm kind of in love with it, because it solves all the problems. It disappears down to nothing when you take out the water, which means you can travel with it. You can fill it up in a hotel room. You can empty it in a hotel room. You don't have to deal with shitty hotel gyms. You can store water in it in the back of your truck for overlanding and off-roading. It eventually will have a built-in filter for the Hydro Reach project, which will be a way for people to transport water in less developed countries. It's all a good idea. There's nothing bad about this idea in any way, so we're just gonna keep doing it.